You're live.
What kind of Tokyo drift is this? Are we live?
You're live.
Sure are.
Everybody down here, welcome aboard. We're live coming at you. This is Thirsty Thursday. It's funny because the delay in the stream is just now catching up. So this is going to be a new little segment that we do. I thought it would be, well, actually it had nothing to do with my idea, wasn't my idea at all. But the brains behind the operation said, you know what? Hey, let's do a segment once a week where we invite members of the community to come on to the show and we'll just hang out. And so we're going to call it Thirsty Thursday. We're going to have some choice adult beverages. Well, I guess most of us are, except oddly, I'm not for this one particular instance. But I believe you will see a cast that you recognize. It'll be J Pink. We've got producing the and of course we have Mr. Ryan Rizan DeMay representing the Sports Turf King deal, and then we have Ray the Green Doc. But our special guest today, our special guest from the community, coming all the way from California himself, we have Mr. JLavoe. How are you, good sir?
Thank you. Happy to be here, guys. It's exciting. First time on here, and let's get it going.
Yeah, this is exciting, and let's be real with everybody who chooses to watch this, which I'm sure there'll be like 2 or 3 people that decide to watch this, but we do a lot of these like that never make it onto YouTube, right? Where we just sit around and hang out and we have a good time, and it's actually a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun doing this. Now, it gets weird that we know all of this is being broadcast to YouTube, so it's going to be, forgive us if we come across as a little stiff, because we're adjusting to this format. We're watching our language a little more than we normally do, and we're probably going to try and be a little bit nicer than we usually are when it's just us hanging out as well too. So hey, forgive us on this first attempt here, but we're just trying to have fun. So, gentlemen, I got to know, what is the topic of the night that we're going to be discussing?
Well, I heard we were going to come in and first look at Aldo's soil test, because I was told that once Green Doc Ray sees his pH, he's probably going to need a nitroglycerin pill and maybe even a baby aspirin. It's quite likely. It's bad, but it's high. All hope is not lost. It's high. Well, a lot of things are high out in California, sir.
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. pH is one of them, sir. That's correct.
pH is one of them. So let's start here before we get into the whole soil test and all the gobbledygook and this geeked out nerd stuff that we're going to talk about, because I'm really ready for that part. But first, tell us a little bit about your story, your lawn, California, like Southern California, Northern California. What kind of grass are you growing, and how did you make the journey from Joe Sixpack taking care of his lawn to sitting here amongst this, let's be honest, brain trust of dudes that have forgotten more about grass than most people ever know, and it's really a sad existence. It truly is. I say that, and it sounds conceited and egotistical, but it's a really sad existence for all of us that's what we committed our lives to. But here we are.
That's right. Long story short, Southern California, out here in Pearl Valley. It's literally sandwiched between San Diego and Arizona. It's a little middle of nowhere county, just north of the Mexican border. So, as you can imagine, the majority of the population is Mexican, and it's not too much of a common thing for people to have a nice stand of turf. Not to say that there aren't any, but like real mowing isn't really a thing, at least that I've seen, and no one around here is really offering a type of service that'll take it to the next level other than just your mow and blow guys that are around here. So anyways, 2017, I got my house. I had this fried patch of Bermuda in front of my house. I was like, yo, I need to do something. So first thing I did was just water. Google foo, go get some Scots, do this, put some down to that. throwing down fertilizer on Bermuda in December. You know, I did all the wrong things that you could probably do. Not long after that, I started discovering people on YouTube, discovered people like Matt and Ryan Knorr, Connor Ward, and stuff like that. And over the years, I've just kind of developed my own little program, adjusted differently just because I'm in a desert. I don't get like literally hardly any rain. It's all, I don't have in-ground irrigation either, so it's just all hose end, sprinklers, and hand watering using the thumb, you know what I'm saying? And this is where I am right now. I'm excited for this next grow season. We're already going to break 100 degrees this weekend, believe it or not. That's kind of insane. And so we're rolling. We're rolling.
Ooh.
That sounds like no fun whatsoever. I'm not down with I'm not down with it coming out of your house and it's a blow dryer, right? Like that's not me. But I live in Canada, according to some on this channel, and so
yes,
I will take that. Yeah, right there. Yep.
Yeah, you are in Canada. There's no doubt about it.
It was 31 degrees here today, Matt. 31 degrees.
I'm
Goodness.
out.
It was awful.
That is frightening.
Not doing
It's going to be 75 next week, but yeah, like, okay. So it's been kind of the same, you know, discovery and adoption phase that a lot of folks have gone through, right? In this whole journey, and you're at a pretty cool spot where, I mean, you're really going to jump in with 2 feet this year. So you do a soil test, you get it back, and now you're going to show it to us. And well, I mean, we'll see where it goes, man. We'll see where it goes. We want to help you, though. I think that's the bottom line, is why we invited you on, right? Is that, you know, the interactions that we've had on the lawn Discord have been awesome. I think, you know, you're one of the people that really get in there and ask a lot of questions and offer advice now too. Like, it's a community, and that's the cool part, is that now you're offering advice of stuff that you've learned, right? And that whole kind of web that gets spun in there is really, really cool to see. So with that, Ray, anything to add before we get started here? Do you have the nitro pills? Do we need to have a AED nearby?
Yeah, I was gonna ask for a defibrillator real quick. I don't know if we have those in Hawaii or not.
No, I think I'm good. I really think I'm good, because I've seen soils like his before, so I've had my heart attack about him years ago, so I think I'm good.
You're working on your third, I'm
you
working on my
anymore.
first.
Yeah,
There we go.
exactly.
All right, well, J Pink, go ahead and throw it up there, and let's see what we're working with from a soil standpoint, and then we can kind of work out the fertility
Ooh.
stuff. We can talk about there's not going to be any diseases out there, I can't imagine, with how dry the humidity is, but then weeds and some other things, some management stuff too. So, okay.
Ooh.
Well, yeah.
This is not as bad as I thought it. Oh,
Thank
I
you.
found one thing that's
Not
bad.
as bad.
It's not. This isn't as bad as. I mean, like, legit. I was fully prepared to have a meltdown over here. Like, I told my kid to. I'm not going to make that joke. I was gonna make, this
Maybe
is
on
this
the after show.
After the show. This is not the show after the show. I'm going to hold off on that.
Yeah,
joke.
the censors will come in to get you for that one.
I got real nervous when Aldo said he lived in a primarily Mexican area. I was like, demonetized. Be careful. But no, I mean, I'm not seeing anything crazy here that doesn't look fixable. I just the one part that sucks, and I'm jumping ahead of the gun here. I'm sorry. I'm chatty Cathy today. I got sodium level, and I know it's coming from your water, and there's nothing you can do about that. And you've got sodic soil, and it sucks. And I'm sorry. But outside of that, you've got a lot of positive things going on. Who wants to go first talking about this? There's a lot of positive here.
There's not a lot of bad. I mean, yeah, the sodium thing and the sodic soils. I mean, it's a case of, and I'm sure Ray will jump in and say kind of the same thing. Is, you know, do you manage it and try to flush it when you can, and that might not be practical, you know, with the irrigation setup that you described, or do you go ahead and sand cap this thing, right? and live with a sand cap above it. And now that that creates a whole nother set of issues, right, that you need to deal with and plan for ahead of time. It's not just like you jump into it and start building up a 2 or 3 inch sand cap and everything's all hunky-dory, right? If you do put soil down and then sand and then soil again, we will hunt you down though, right? We'll get Liam Neeson out there and find you and things will go down, right? So do not do that.
Appreciate that.
We call that grounds for a rear end whipping around here.
Pocket chain time, Aldo.
So what do you think? What do you think, Ray? As far as like, do you manage this? And it's not. I wouldn't say it could be a pain in the butt to manage sometimes, especially when he's getting. How many inches of rain do you get a year, Aldo? Like 3, 4?
Yeah. We'll average 3 that actually hits the ground, and it's during the season when I don't need it, which just passed. It was winter. That's our rainy season. After that, we're not getting anything. And I'm as serious as I can be when I say anything. It just does not. You see a cloud, you freak out. You're like, oh my gosh. It's just always clear skies, and that sun is beating down. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Central Tennessee had. Yeah, I was gonna say Central Tennessee had like 8.5 inches of rain just like last weekend, right? Something like that, Matt?
Yeah, we get 50 inches of rain a year where I live. It's like it's always gray skies and gloom and doom and depression and all the other.
That's one thing. Like I don't want to sway off on a different subject, but like when I see the guys, for example, on lawn forum in the Discord, they talk about fungicides and insecticides and fighting grubs and large, and I'm just like, man, like, am I missing something? Like, is it just, do I just not get it? And I guess I don't. That's one of the I guess benefits of living in such a dry area.
Yeah, it's like snow. I mean, have you ever seen snow in person?
I have not seen snow in person, guys. I have confessed that, never have.
So that's what I mean. Is like it's just it's a different thing. It's a different animal. I'm not saying that we're any better or worse off. It's just like now if you put our sorry behinds out in the desert where it was 105 plus for like 30 days straight, right? Like we would not. I don't think any of us want any part of that. Am I correct in saying that, gentlemen? Is anybody here have any desire to live in a microwave for 3 months out of the year? Okay. Could you imagine?
Thank you, but no thank you.
So now let me put it to you this way. How would you like to grow grass in a microwave for 3 months out of the year? And that's what this poor guy do.
Actually,
meanwhile,
you know what? I'll take that. I would actually take that. I mean, I'm nuts.
So Aldo, or is it mostly it's just common Bermuda? Is that what's in the yard, or what do you have out there? Have you ID'd it at all?
Yeah, we're really just pictures and asking a couple guys around here, like in the Discord. What is it that I have? To my understanding, it's common Bermuda. Nothing here in my area that I know of is any hybrid variety. All it is predominantly common Bermuda and St. Augustine. St. Augustine's like maybe 80% of the grass types in the lawns around here in the area. The other fancy ones, they got Bermuda, that's common. I don't see hybrids unless it's like in the newer, subsections of homes that are getting built and stuff like that. Other than that, I have common all over. It's just my front yard and my backyard is common Bermuda. Everyone else around me has St. Augustine. So I guess I can flex a little bit.
Okay. So is that something, I mean, from an aesthetic standpoint and care standpoint, at least what you know right now, is that kind of the direction you want to stick with, or do you feel like you're going to hit a ceiling in terms of how it looks and feels and all that kind of stuff that you're just going to be like, I wish I could do better? I mean, is there anything like a renovation or anything that you would consider in the future, or is it just, hey, right now I'm going to take it 1 year at a time and see if we can max this thing out and then go from there?
Yes and yes. Right now, I mean, I certainly hope I didn't hit I peaked as far as how good I can get that, grass to look as far as last year. I hope I can get it to look better. Actually just got myself a real mower. I got myself a California trimmer I'm really excited about. So I can actually keep that extra low compared to I had a manual push wheel that I used out there. Middle of the summer heat, which was terrible. But that's, another story. But anyways, yes, I would like to in the future, I don't know how many years from now, renovate, go into like maybe a hybrid variety like Tiff Grand, or if I can get some Toma 31, that'd be great too.
Ooh.
But there's the funding involved, of course, and then not only that, but I understand killing off common Bermuda can be quite difficult, and just to get that layer of like you were mentioning about a sand cap, that'd be another challenge. Adding irrigation, that's quite a project. That'd be turning into our friend Ben here with his drainage issue that he's got right now.
That's
Hopefully
not an
not,
issue.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's ripping the entire crust of the earth open and making that part of it your own, right? Like
That was self-sacrifice. I mean, there's nothing about that that's even remotely normal. And I just appreciate so much
Hats off to him, man.
how much
Amazing.
effort he has put into that.
it's literally like if it is the definition of 110%. We'll have Ben on here sometime. That'd be a good Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah.
It would.
Guest an episode.
He would drink a lot
once
of
he gets it all.
scotch.
Yeah, he's got to
And he
finish it though.
deserves it.
If you're Ben, if you're watching, you got to finish it before you come on. We got to get that bent grass sod down. So he's close. He's really close. But in any regard, no, that's good information too. That kind of gives us something to go off of in terms of how you're going to approach it. Now, I will say, if you go to Renovate, there are some videos on how to intercede with Arden 15. I'd ask that you don't watch those because it's a pretty much garbage thing to do. So just leave you with that. There.
Got it.
So anyway, back to your lawn here. You've got the sodium issue aside here for a second. So let's just look at the basics, NPK. And Ray, what do you see if you were managing this and knowing the heat situation and everything like this? Is there anything that would change your approach in terms of trying to push this grass or maybe lay off? Because there is, if I understand it correctly, and I don't experience this, so I can't say for certain, but a maximum temperature, right, at which Bermuda grass will be happy, correct?
Correct. There is a maximum where I believe once you get over 120 degrees, you're going to have trouble even getting Bermuda to grow. But what's in his favor is how long are you warm in your area?
Warm as
How long
in
until
like
winter?
90s?
Or even 80s or mid 70s?
My highs will be under 80 for about 3 months out of the year. I'm out of that phase. Typically, man, December, January, February will be the months where actually, to be honest, my Bermuda doesn't go fully dormant. It's green. It's kind of just barely hanging in there. Yeah, I would say December, January, February are the months where that I'm not growing. It's not growing. Other than that, depending on how much I push it. I mean, this year, another thing that I wanted to mention, I'm trying to minimize the N I'm putting down on there. So I'm sure that if I banged it right now, it'd be fully green. I wouldn't doubt it. But I'm kind of taking my time with it. But yeah, just those 3 months out of the year would be a no-go for Bermuda.
Okay, because what that tells me is that you literally have 8 to 9 months where you can work on your nutrition and your soil. And to me, folks, that is a lot of time. You got a lot of time. And that's a good thing. You got tons of time, Aldo. I mean, because already what I'm looking at is throwing down some granular sulfur every 3 months and acidifying the soil in another way all throughout the growing season. And that's going to be the biggest and most significant thing you can do. Because the fact of the matter is that seeing your actual calcium, magnesium, and sodium levels, those actually will become impeders of anything else you apply. It'll literally get in the way of your nutrients that you're trying to apply. So it makes perfect sense to take care of your soil pH first, or start addressing it so that you can maximize your dollar as far as when you apply N, when you apply P, when you apply K, you actually get a soil response or a turf response from it.
Right. I
Because I
actually
can tell
have
you,
already. Well, yeah, I actually have already applied my first application of sulfur. Went 5 pounds per
Mhm.
K, and I've just been watering it. And yeah, I was waiting for like the temperatures to come in and really get that in there and let it start doing its thing.
Yep, yep. And because what I generally tell people is you start hitting your sulfur when your weather starts warming up, and you can literally do it again in 3 months, and keep watering. And because you're actually in an ideal area because you're always watering.
Yeah,
You're always
all
watering.
the time.
So you can literally throw down sulfur and water, because that's like the best way I can think of for you to get out of your soil situation short of a bulldozer.
Yeah.
Ray, real quick, can you just talk on the why, or I guess the release characteristics or breakdown characteristics of sulfur, and how that actually works on buffering the high pH of the soil?
I certainly can. Here's how sulfur works. Sulfur needs a minimum temperature that I've determined to be approximately 75 degrees soil temperature in order for what's called the sulfobacters or sulfur oxidizing bacteria in soil to convert the elemental sulfur into sulfuric acid. And the way that it works is you throw down granular sulfur, the sulfobacter starts digesting that elemental sulfur and turning it into sulfuric acid, and that is what buffers or corrects a high soil pH condition. However, there is another little factor in that your sulfobacter is not active, and the conversion doesn't happen fast enough in soils where your pH is already over 7. So Aldo is also familiar with applying liquid citric acid in between his sulfur applications and doing it on a regular basis. In fact, I think Aldo asked me about a system where he was looking at injecting or metering the citric acid through his water hose when he's hand watering the lawn. And of course, I gave my stamp of approval to that, because actually, when you're dealing with a soil where part of your issue is your irrigation or your water source is full of calcium, magnesium, and sodium, the way to actually address that problem is to inject acids into that water to always have that water pH below 7.
That's what a perfect answer that was. And
Yeah.
and the reason why I asked is I get a lot of questions about sulfur and putting it down, and I kind of relate it to that secondary release of like an organic fertilizer, right? Where the microbes will consume the organic matter, and then crap, for lack of a better word, the NPK value of that organic matter, right? So it's kind of the same thing with sulfur, right? You're relying on these bacteria to break down the elemental sulfur into sulfuric acid. And so, like, when worrying about microbial activity in the soil, what are the components you need? You need adequate soil temperature, and you need adequate soil moisture, like you would with an organic fertilizer to help facilitate release. It would be the exact same thing with elemental sulfur as well. You need adequate soil temperatures, and you need adequate soil moisture in order for that to happen. And then from that point, though, so how much of the heavy watering? So you'll hear people say they recommend 3 inches of water to move elemental sulfur into the soil profile. Is that because of under what circumstance? Why does it require that much water? I'm trying to tee you up here.
It requires that much water because when it is sitting on the soil surface and it isn't moved into the actual soil profile, elemental sulfur is actually very caustic to plant tissues. And so if you have that high concentration of sulfur that close to the grass shoots and grass leaves, you can literally burn the grass up. And so the way you mitigate that or prevent that is you water and you water some more until that sulfur that normally comes in the form of granules that look almost like split peas breaks down into the fine powder that it's made out of, and then it just goes downward into the soil and is no longer sitting on the soil surface. I cannot emphasize enough how caustic sulfur actually is to plant tissues. And in the case of Aldo, I'd be especially concerned because I know quite well how high his daytime temperatures are actually going to get, because I'm also familiar with sulfur as a fungicide and miticide on things like ornamental trees, shrubs, and fruit trees. And one of the cautions is that you cannot apply sulfur to foliage when your daytime temperatures are over 90 degrees, because it just becomes too caustic and you're going to burn off the leaves.
What about bypassing elemental sulfur and going ahead and just applying diluted sulfuric acid? Is that a reality? Is it too risky? Is the reward worth the risk? How does that look? What do you think? Should that be avoided altogether and stick to elemental sulfur and citric acid, or do you think there's enough forgiveness as long as you're dealing with dilute sulfuric acid to take on that type of project?
Well, I only even mention sulfuric acid when I have the assurance that the person that's handling it totally understands the risks of dealing with sulfuric acid, because when you typically buy sulfuric acid, the lowest concentration of sulfuric acid that you buy is 30%, and you get that at places like AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Napa as the electrolyte for dealing with your lead acid car batteries. However, even in that 30% form, I want everybody to understand that that acid will disintegrate clothing. That acid will burn through skin. That acid will also make you go blind if it goes into your eyes. So there's a lot of risks. I also know that you can get 95% sulfuric acid as a drain and mainline cleaner, but 95% sulfuric acid is even more hazardous to deal with, because when you're in the process of diluting that sulfuric acid, when that concentrated sulfuric acid hits water, it will literally get hot enough to boil the water. And the only way to prevent that, reaction from causing a situation where you have a steam explosion where that sulfuric acid and water mixture shoots straight up in the air, possibly into your face, is by adding that sulfuric acid to a very high volume of water slowly with external cooling and constant and vigorous agitation. Now, I don't know of very many people that have ever handled sulfuric acid and appreciates how reactive that substance actually is. I happen to have done it, so I understand, but for your average person, I don't think they've ever seen sulfuric acid make water boil.
How about
You want to try it, Aldo?
I'm gonna give that one a hard pass, Poppy.
Okay. Whereas I know something like citric acid is relatively safe. No, you don't want to ingest large quantities of it. No, you don't want to get it in your eyes, but you're not likely to have a situation where when you're diluting and applying it, it's going to become reactive and literally explode into your face. It's also relatively harmless to clothing and skin as well. So, that's just something a lot safer to deal with. And besides, I mean, tell me now, Aldo, how did you source your citric acid? Because I think the listeners need to understand, the difference in safety versus, say, getting that 1 gallon box of battery electrolyte or else the quart of drain cleaner acid from the hardware store.
Actually, have through my previous jobs, I have contacts with some commercial food suppliers. So I was able to actually reach out to a contact of mine at one of the companies, and I got your typical 50-pound, pail of citric acid, which I'm not sure. I may need more considering my situation. I'm not sure, but I think that's a start. I didn't want to just get something off Amazon, which is like I think a pound or 5 pounds, which can get pricey. But I figured if this is going to be something long term, I'd rather just get myself something in bulk, just like I did with the sulfur. Actually, I got myself several 50-pound bags of that because I know I'm going to use it.
Right, and the thing is that my understanding is that you literally got your citric acid as a food additive, because I know that it's used for making candies. I know that it's also used for keeping apples and pears from browning when you cut up apples and pears. So that literally speaks to the relative safety of using citric acid, which is why I will freely tell somebody dealing with an alkaline soil situation to go ahead and start applying a pound of citric acid per 1,000 square foot per application, up to 2 times a month, if not more, because I have no fears or concerns about that becoming, a risk. Whereas I literally do not ever want to mention sulfuric acid to your average person. I don't want it mentioned.
Chuck asked about phosphoric acid.
Okay, phosphoric acid is maybe a lot less reactive versus sulfuric acid, but that can have a special role, especially when you're dealing with a soil that happens to be low in phosphorus. That can be part of a overall program, because I know that in production agriculture, part of the agronomic prescription for crops growing on a field with, that kind of a soil test would be to meter small amounts of phosphoric acid into the irrigation water.
And
in addition to your regular fertilizers.
And the one caveat I would say there is that, if I would not use that more than likely as your sole source of pH manipulation, but as part of an overall project there, that can be another one of those added tools in the toolbox to use to your advantage, because it's one of those things where if you're applying phosphoric acid at not the correct rate, at not the correct intervals, enough to move the pH where you need it to be, how quickly that is going to tie up with all that excess calcium and magnesium in the soil that's likely contributing to your high pH in the first place.
Right. I would never apply phosphoric acid as my sole pH corrective, but I could see a place for it in an overall agronomic program when dealing with a high pH soil that is also phosphorus deficient. It's just one more tool in an entire toolbox that you can deploy in a situation like this. It's just one tool out of many, because I think what it's about is using all or as many of the available tools as you can get your hands on to improve and progress in your given situation.
Yeah, I understand that it's moving the needle on something like pH could take a very long time. I know sulfur was the first step for me. Then it was introducing application of citric acid, and then as a matter of fact, we had a conversation in the past about phosphoric acid. And you mentioned that I happen to be one of the rare and unique situations to where it could actually serve a purpose. And I'm not sure I want to dive into that one yet, but maybe I'll cross the bridge when I get there.
Yeah. I mean, but right now, for example, applying your sulfur and then constantly driving down your soil pH with citric acid is probably going to be your safest and most logical way to deal with this, moving forward.
Ray had another question here. Coven Carlson wanted to know about lysergic acid diethylamide.
Okay. Actually, I wouldn't even recommend doing it.
The grass screener. That's LSD for everybody playing along at home.
No, only in his mind. However, I would have questions whether someone would even be able to mow in a straight line after doing that. I have questions.
Oh,
I think you mow first, then you take the trip, right? That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I think that would be a wise idea, because talk about operating machinery, while being under the influence.
Just
that's just not a good
sugar
idea,
cubes,
right?
Ray. Don't eat those sugar cubes before you go out and apply, man. Just don't do it.
I just don't.
Would be another good one there.
Yeah,
no
mind-altering substances before lawn care. That's just never a wise idea.
Well, we do have some pictures of Aldo's grass here. Actually, we don't have to just look at his soil test.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's a great little fit. Hey, that is definitely common Bermuda.
When was this, Aldo?
This was sometime in August or September of last year in 2020. Because I sent you another picture of like the whole kind of my whole front lawn. That one was it happened to be one of those days where the water was right. I mowed it recently. The sun was just hitting. It was just one of those days where you just go outside and it's just popping, and you're like, whoa, look at that. I remember I was about to head out to San Diego to go see my brother, and I just snapped that picture, and that was the one that just stuck. I was like, man, that looked really good that day.
Yeah,
and I'll one thing I was just going to say is that there's something about Bermuda when you let it dry out just a hair, it gets just a few paint chips darker in color, and I can see
Yeah.
just looking at it, I can start to see where it's not excessively wet and you don't have all this lime green flush of growth coming off of it, and it's not dry to the point of wilting. So it really is like super on point right there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. That is actually I consider that a model of what Bermuda should look like. And make note that the color of the grass is not almost blue. It is green, not blue.
Well, it's also common Bermuda, and common Bermuda is one of those that just does not really do blue very well at all. You can't force. You can only take common Bermuda so dark, and you can try and manipulate that however you want to do it. But it is its own. It doesn't blue up like most of your other turf types with excess rates of iron.
Although what I can tell you is that, once you get your pH addressed, you'll notice that the natural color of that Bermuda will tend to be rather on the green side, and you're not going to need to throw a lot of nitrogen at it to keep that color either. It's just going to be a naturally beautiful grass.
So one thing I wanted to mention last year, lesson learned. My goodness. So it started around May of last year. That's when we're really hitting our high temperatures. We're already at 110 degrees. We're pushing. Overnight temps are like high 60s, maybe already in the 70s. So I mean that grass is rolling. You know what I'm saying? And I had just gotten some choice 1648 from a company that may or may not be still in business, but I went a little happy with that one, and man, I was mowing every other day, and there was some days where I could have mowed every day. Mind you, I was still in the mentality of, hey, it's Bermuda. Bermuda loves nitrogen. Just hammer that down with the end, right? And so I was feeding it, and and it got to the point where I was just transitioning from a rotary to a push reel, and once I made that transition, man, I was mowing so much. Mind you, it's hot out there, no PGR. That's something I'm introducing this year into my program, by the way. So I do not want to have to go through that again. Another reason I'm trying to control that is minimizing my N this year. Excuse me. PGR in my program once it calls for it, and yeah, that was not fun being out there mowing that much.
And have you always used this reel mower?
I just cannot.
That's actually, I just bought that a couple weeks ago. Very happy. I'm part of the CT gang. A couple other guys that I know. It just seemed the one that was made the most sense for me. I have common Bermuda. I don't have a hybrid that can take really, really short cutting heights. I don't have TIF Grand, so I don't need a greens mower. You know what I mean? This was available in my area. Another thing too, I didn't really feel like doing the homework of researching, going to auctions. You know what? I could just order one and have it shipped to the place where I got it, and then pick it up and bring it home, and that was it, man. I'm just happy with the purchase. I got no regrets, at least not yet.
What height are you at right now?
California Trimmers is sponsoring Augusta National this year. Is that right?
Sure.
Sorry, that was a bad joke.
Ryan, I'm at right now. I'm
I stole
actually
that from
at
Discord.
half inch. I'm still growing in. Actually, if JPink, you want to put up the picture of just the other day, actually just yesterday, I took a picture of what my lawn looks like, and it's greening up. I'm getting so it's kind of greening up there a little bit. So I'm kind of keeping it at a half inch till it all kind of grows in, and then we'll see about adjusting a height, maybe going down to like 3/8. 3/8 is the lowest on that mower. I want to say maybe it's even lower than that, but I don't intend on going. I intend at keeping it at a half inch all year long if I can.
Actually,
that sounds totally
Aldo,
fine.
I can tell you that my experience with common Bermuda is that it is a very stable and easy to take care of grass between, say, half an inch and 5/8 of an inch. This is not, common Bermuda is not the kind of grass that you get crazy on and take it down to like 2/10 of an inch. You don't do that to common. Between half inch, 5/8, maybe even 3/4 is, a perfectly sane and reasonable height. And I think you'll be very happy with your grass at that height. You'll be happy because if anything, trying to push it lower just gets difficult. It makes it hard.
Last year, the
So-
picture that was shown earlier from last year, it was I want to say it was at 3/4 during that time. There's an aerial pic, by the way. That was cool. I had a friend with a drone that went out there.
And he took his-
Some issues that you may or may not see there. I don't know if you see that little ring down there on the bottom. It may or may not be fairy ring. I'm not sure. I want to see how that behaves this year.
And there used to be a tree there.
And
I was gonna say, it
I
used to
don't
be a
know.
tree there.
As a matter of fact, so this is interesting. So when I purchased my house, I learned more about the property from my neighbors than I did from like anything else. I would always ask my neighbors, "Hey, was this before?" Or a neighbor had told me, "Oh yeah, a couple years ago, there was all this like old I don't know, washing machines and just house equipment on the lawn for like months." And because something happened, I don't know, it was crazy. So, anyways, I had asked one of my neighbors, "Do you remember ever there being a tree right here?" And none of them can remember. So there may or may not have been. There probably was, considering that strange area. I've gone and gave it that extra watering, hit it with extra fertilizer or some iron. Nothing had really seemed to affect it in any way. I have, like I said, I don't deal with disease, so I haven't really addressed it as far as a fungicide. So again, I want to see how that behaves this year and go from there. This was sometime in July. I think I was still on a rotary here. I'm not sure.
Looks damn good, man.
Still
I
on,
mean,
still on
Thank you.
rotary and just feeding it. But, that is still, to my eyes, that still looks green, Aldo. That's still, green, because to be honest with you, I'm actually used to my grasses being more on the pale side.
Mhm.
Just a little paler. And that's related to, height of cut, frequency of mowing, all of those things. But
sounds
this
like a
lawn
5-step
just looks
process.
green.
It's
This
funny.
lawn just looks green.
I smell
Go ahead,
what you're
man.
stepping in over there, Ryan.
Mhm.
I think about there is the allure of low cut turf, right? But when you're talking about common Bermuda, there's kind of that critical threshold there that once you go below a certain height of cut with common Bermuda, it's just impossible to retain color in it. And I think that 3/4 of an inch is kind of the sweet spot for common Bermuda in having is equal parts density, turf density to color as well. Yes, your grass is on your head. But Ray, what do you think? If you're maintaining common Bermuda, what is your optimal height of cut?
I probably split the difference and don't go any lower than 5/8. I get nervous about keeping it at 3/4 because in general, I also have to worry about things like thatch, insect pests, and diseases related to a turf canopy that doesn't dry out quickly. However, that is the one time where I wish I were actually growing grass in sort of an oven rather than a steam room. Because then with the lower humidity, I don't have to be as paranoid about insect pests and diseases, for example.
Right, and Ray, yeah, it's quite a dry heat. I know you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, it's a dry heat. Oh, it's humid. Like, really, it's just dry. Here you go. This is my forecast for the coming week. So as you can tell, we're already hitting 100 degrees this weekend, and once you get to like July, August, my highs will be 117, 118, lows of like 85. Pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the difference is that the lack of humidity really keeps it simple. You know, that's actually in your favor. The lack of humidity keeps it simple because it seems that, like in my location, humidity almost always equals temperature. So if it's 80 degrees, it can go up to 80% relative humidity. So people, they actually are shocked because they step off the plane here, for example, and they're thinking in their mind, "Oh, 80 degrees, you wuss, what are you crying about?" And then they step off the plane, and
everything is stuck to them.
They're like, "Oh my God, it is so hot here. What in the world?" But it's like, okay, I told you, and it never goes away. I'm talking about even at night. In fact, the humidity goes up at night. So, you actually have a good place to grow some very high quality Bermuda grass. I'm just telling you that right now. You're in the good place.
Overnight, we'll hit like 40% humidity, but then as soon as that sun's out in the daytime, everything's just dry. I can't worry about nothing else.
Wow. Yeah, because what I would give for 40% humidity at night. Really?
Yeah, that is.
Take a trip,
that's incredible.
Ray.
Low.
Got plenty of room here for you.
Oh, is that an invite, Aldo?
Sure, to come by. You can adjust. You can help me work on my lawn.
Rent ain't free, Ray. It ain't free.
No.
It's funny. I got people sending me pictures of what they're drinking right now, and then someone also said, "Challenge accepted to mow while on hallucinogens." I do not recommend that, but apparently,
Unaccepted.
One thing that was taken away from the conversation.
Shrooms are legal in some places now, so somebody might be able to try that here pretty soon.
Yeah. That's right.
Be great
That's right.
content. Great content.
Turf culture's enjoying a Humic on the rocks tonight, and that's
that's my kind of drink. That's fancy.
Is that a high pH or a low pH Humic? Because that can make a tremendous amount of difference.
Straight out of Georgia. So let me see here. I'm trying to look up ET rates for Imperial Valley, and there's some ridiculous numbers on here for monthly. So let me do this real quick. That's precipitation.
Ryan, what is the ET for Cali, during the growing season?
7 divided by. Holy smokes. That's what I'm looking up. So
grab onto something. I hope you guys are good.
I'm trying to find out what the crop coefficient is out there too, because normally it would be like in a climate like that would be 0.8. So then you take that times the ET, but I'm trying to dig out some numbers from this USDA data.
But is there really anywhere in California that just gets a lot of rain? I don't know.
I mean,
maybe somewhere up
California to me is-
north.
I don't know anything.
like north of
Northern.
Eureka, California.
Yeah,
and,
Eureka, Humboldt
Crescent City.
County.
Yeah, like up there, it's pretty much like a Pacific Northwest kind of climate from that point straight up I-5 all the way through Oregon.
North
into
North California is also Canada, Matt. By the way, just so you know.
Oh, I already knew that. I mean,
Yeah.
even where you are is Canada to me. So this is
We may as well be Asia. We're just so far east or west. I'm sorry.
You are actually in the far east. You have gone so far west in California. It is
Start
now the
over.
Far East. Yeah. In fact,
We
when I
think
met
it's
my
a-
wife, the first thing I asked her was, "Are you from California?" And she was like, "No, you idiot. I'm from Japan."
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my Far East joke.
Some attitude back there. Felt that one, bro.
So the best I can do is from Phoenix, and they're pretty much during summertime, from starting in about now, 1st of April on through by the time you get to May. So, the first 4 weeks of the real growing season, it's about an inch or an inch and a quarter a week, right? And then it goes up over 2 inches a week as you get into summertime, right? So that's just replacement at 80%. So, you could have a comparatively drier week, and now you think about 2 inches of water over how big's your lawn?
My front altogether, it's about 34. So that whole big section and the small section there, the tiny section on the right that we share with the neighbor, that's about 3,500.
3,500. So
I water a lot, bro.
3,500.
I actually have it down to a freaking science. I know exactly where I need to put my oscillating sprinkler for how long to maximize the time. The time of the dude. I have spent too much time on my. Oh, I don't want to say that. I've spent too much time on the sprinkler. Adjusting it just so where it's right on the sweet spot. And yeah, bro, it's just I got it. I'm good.
So,
I mean, I'd
So
pray
you-
for a little bit of rain here and there, but I got the watering down.
so peak demand, if you were irrigating at 80% replacement of ET, right, evapotranspiration, that would be about 4,400 gallons of water a week on your lawn, on your 3,500 square foot lawn.
My water bill's pretty high in the summertime. I mean, yeah, considering
What do we
just, I mean, let alone the yard, but like, I mean, I got kids, they all bathe and all this other stuff. So yeah, man, it's
Hey, what do we
It's-
say,
it's
man?
high.
It's California. Everything's high in California. Everything.
Everything's high, but seriously, I can literally imagine you putting down, ballparking it up to 4 inches of water per week to totally replace.
that's about right? I typically during the hottest. I remember during the hottest part of my season, man, I was watering like pretty much every 3 days. If I missed a day, I'm definitely gonna show where all my hot spot, localized dry spot. I know where they are, and then even just the grass, you could tell that it's just thirsty. Like I need some water. So it was every 3 days. Depending on the section, it'd be like the 20-30 minutes per section. Each time, each watering was putting down at least an inch, at least 1 inch. I know I'd go out there and I put out my little what are those called? The little Tupperwares I just put out there just to
Tuna
see how much
can?
water I'm getting down there. No, not quite tuna cans. I mean, I'm not a big fan of tuna, to be honest with you, but like I just put out these little containers that are flat and wide, and excuse me, I just go out there and just see how much water I'm getting down. It was at least an inch every time I watered. If I didn't do an inch, I'd be too afraid of like if I did it half inch at a time more regularly, I wouldn't get any root like depth to go down and drive down. So I was just trying to maximize the time I could have between watering so I can actually help the roots drive down as opposed to just water the surface to keep it cool and not really have any root growth. I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's not going to be fun trying to drive roots into soil with 600 parts per million of magnesium either. I mean, that's just. I'm sorry. That's your
Tight.
grass will not enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good at all. Not good at all. So that's my other little point is that once you get your soil structure corrected, by solubilizing some of this calcium and then displacing the magnesium and sodium with that solubilized calcium, you're actually going to maximize and optimize your actual watering. That's going to make a huge difference for you. So, I always
Something else
say that,
Go ahead.
so I always say that to me, aside from correcting shade, if you want good grass, addressing your soil pH is king. You ignore it at your own peril, literally.
That's a threat, Aldo. You hear that? That's a threat.
I fear for my life. One thing I wanted to mention is, like I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I'm introducing into my program this year is PGR. Another one is wetting agents. I've never used any kind of wetting agents in my lawn, and I think it's going to be. I think I'm going to see the difference, especially in the hotter months. One of the things I'm going to be running is one of those tournament ready pellets, the ones that the Pellet Pro, you just spray it out there. That's kind of what I'm going with right now. I'm still searching for like a secondary, something that I don't know. I wouldn't want to use the entire pellet all over the lawn. I'd rather just use those for like the spots that definitely need it. I'm trying to find another product that I already have my eyes on one that may or may not have heard about. That's from a supply company that's coming out in the future. I'm very excited for, and I'm probably gonna go with that one just to see if I can get some overall coverage as a broadcast application, and then use the Pellet Pro for the localized dry spot.
So I'll give you a little fun fact here is combining acids with surfactants. So maybe watering in your citric acid applications with your Pellet Pro or whatever.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I don't know. That may be something I'm working on internally here and have been for a little bit. And there is a marked difference I am seeing combining soil surfactants and acids, as long as they
Good to
play
know.
well together. What were you gonna say, Ryan? I saw you about to eat the mic over there. What were you gonna say? I cut you off.
About to eat everything.
Oh, so I was gonna eat everything. What was I gonna say? Oh, so I think that's a fine plan. I think wetting agents can be fickle, right? And we see this in golf and sports stuff. What works for one person, down the street might not work for you. And so I wouldn't be, I would give it a season for sure, but really try to monitor your results. And the whole thing of it retaining extra water and all this kind of stuff. Here's what it does: is it helps even out your dry down, right? So that the driest spots don't dry down quite as quickly as what the rest of your lawn does, right? So those hot spots and those localized dry spots don't pop up quite as quickly. You're still going to see them, and they're still going to be trigger points of, hey, it's time to water the lawn. But I think using the pellets in that regard, I mean, it's very much like a golf course situation. That's how those type of folks would deploy that kind of solution, right? So of a liquid product over the top, and then coming back with the pellets in some really hard and difficult to control localized dry spots. But I think you will see a difference there for sure. And even if you can, is leave a small untreated check, like in an area that might be like half on a dry spot and half not. Just throw like a shoebox or a piece of plywood or something down, because you'll see it. if it's working, you'll definitely see a difference in terms of how that soil dries down. But to Matt's point, the biggest thing with those is if you're going to use anything over the top is you got to water it in. You got to water it in. You got to push down the root zone. So otherwise it's absolutely useless. And depending on which ones you use, especially if you use some of the older like block copolymers, sometimes those can get a little hot and heated, even on Bermuda grass, and kind of ding it up a little bit if they're left out there and not watered in immediately. So here in the Midwest, I would tell you the best day to apply them is when it's raining. That doesn't happen out there, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'd be right behind it and pushing that stuff down in as quickly as you can. I think you'll see some good results from that.
One of the places that I kind of quote unquote have a check for anything that I'm really applying is that spot that I share on the right side that I share with my neighbor. I've never really told him up front, and I've been kind of a jerk about it. But like, I fertilize that spot, I mow that spot all myself. I'm not one of those guys that goes right in the freaking middle. That's like, that's your side, this is my side. I don't know, man. I don't believe in that. It's such a tiny spot. I'd rather just take care of it all. You know what I mean? It just makes my yard look nicer and bigger. The only thing I would wish he would kind of like, get the hint is water. Help me water, dude. Like if you could just take care of the watering, I will mow and fertilize and hook that spot up all day long. But again, they don't. I do water it. Even me, like I don't water it as much. I don't look after it. Okay, I don't baby it as much as I do my side, completely, of course. So if anything, I will definitely try something on the main spot and leave that spot to see like, difference.
I've heard about this really great course that's on the internet that you can pay. I think it's about $100, and it's how to watch videos on how to watch your neighbor do lawn work, and then you film them while they do it and tell them what they're doing wrong, and then try to help them, and use a bunch of products that don't actually work, but you tell them and get them all excited that they work. And then when they ask you why they don't work, you just say, oh, hey, I've got this new product. It seems like a pretty good deal. I might check it out. I don't know. The reason I had to split a few minutes ago was because the True Green guy came to the door, and I had to tell him that, no, that's actually not Pythium out there, guy. But then he came back a few minutes later and said, hey, that chest hair looks pretty good. What are you using on that? And I said, hey, that's Subvert MPK MFT.
Oh.
I'm on the Matt Martin program for the chest hair, right? Just rub a little peptide on it right here, And I think part of that protocol is you have to have a 14 karat gold chain too. So I'm all in on all that stuff. Goodness. I'm all in on all that stuff, but
only the Italians can have the gold chain and the chest hair. I'm Irish, so I don't.
You're gonna need the jumpsuit too, the Adidas jumpsuit. You're gonna be good.
Yeah. Yeah, little MFT up there. Give me some micros and give me some of them peptides. Anyhow, but no, I digress. The neighbor stuff is always kind of weird, but I would agree. If you're one of those, hey, the line is drawn here, here's the property line, like, you're an insufferable human being, and I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry.
I just can't, man. I see that so often now, unless both of our yards were completely connected, it was one large patch of turf, then I understand. But I mean, dude, look at that. What? I don't know, dude. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have you want to try and help him out, and you got to tell him, hey, listen, if I leave you and hang you out to dry here, you're going to have this little pencil dick that's just looking like trash against my big beefy bastard, right? And so let's be real here. Let's help each other.
Well, that was a little louder.
It's called meeting people halfway, because I'm in the situation too where there's always this talk about quote unquote a domination line, right? And Aldo, I actually create that domination line just by the type of, fertilizer and PGR and weed control applications that I do. And also the difference is in the mower. Okay? Oh, yeah. Because if somebody's mower is dull, somebody's mower is out of adjustment, that turns into another quote unquote domination line. Or my big one is if somebody uses a string trimmer anywhere, that also turns into a domination line because
I
I
forgot
don't
that's
use
your thing, Ray. I forgot about you and the string trimmers, man.
Yeah, because everything, and I repeat, everything gets trimmed with rotary scissors and an actual bladed edger. I mean, that's just a signature.
The old Green Dot special. You don't even need a coupon code for that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't even need it. So, what questions do you have? We kind of went through a lot. I'm sorry I was out here making jokes and not giving you good advice other than the wedding agents I tried, but these guys, I think, had a lot more to offer with your situation. But what questions do you have going into this year? What are you nervous about or concerned about, and what are you looking for? Even if you feel good about it, what are you looking for a little assurance on?
So really, the fixing my nutritional demands. I think the NPK is something that I've given a lot of research. I've put in a lot of research on. If you pull up my soil test, JPink, pH is high, 7.4, and it shows my phosphorus is high. But I understand that with a pH that high, it's a deceiving number. So it's closer to more to like 40 or 45 parts per million. And so I need to give it some P, right? So all I have on hand is a bag of some ammonium phosphate, some 1620, and I'm kind of searching for something else that can supply me with more P without really pushing the N or K. Preferably something like, for example, I did order something. It's a water soluble that's a 10-50-10, and I want to see if maybe that's something that could perhaps help me while still be able to supply some K with a high amount of phosphorus. And then I've got some, I've got some D10 plus that I have to that has no P, some depth carb and stuff like that. But I'm really searching for that extra, the last part of my of sourcing my NPK that I can actually go out there and help me fix my P that's out there.
You really don't have to panic a whole lot about the K too, and the reason why is, one, you're high CEC, and so
Not likely to go down.
Yeah, you're at 300 parts per million, so it's
anywhere.
okay. Even if you're moving that up to 350, 360, which you're probably not going to do in a year when you're talking about the K rates you're talking about applying so far. You are still on a gradual decline. So, just remember when it comes to K, right, you're going to be on a downward trend if you apply approximately half of what you apply in. So, as you're mapping out your year and you're looking at it, you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, I'm probably going to be somewhere around 4 pounds in. Well, that gives you the freedom to apply 2 pounds of K, and you're not going to move on your potassium number. And you could apply half that and apply a single pound of K through the year, and you're going to be in a deficit. You are going to move that number now. So I wouldn't necessarily just come at it from the standpoint of avoiding K altogether. It's just that if you run into a situation where you can save money by not spending money on K, and you don't have to, type of sort of deal.
So could I get away with, for example, getting through the year without applying any K?
Yeah. Look, and this is going to be blasphemy and I'm coming at this from the broke ass lawn care operator perspective, right? So when you're a lawn applicator, you're always broke. You never have the money to buy what you need to be doing. So what I would be doing is I would be blowing my budget on lowering soil pH and just applying nitrogen. That would be my total approach on this. And in fact, I think I could free up enough phosphorus from sulfur and citric acid applications that I could totally get away with just applying ammonium sulfate for the year. Now, I would still feel guilty about that. I would still want to get a little K down, but chances are I'm broke and I don't want to blow the budget on it because I'm already buying the citric acid and the elemental sulfur. So I would be doing ammonium sulfate only on your particular property right here. Now, I would still do some micronutrient applications too, just for fun and just that, because when you spray them, everybody's like, "Oh my, is this real grass? What did you do?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what that is. You can touch it if you want." But anyway, that would be how I would handle this.
I do have a couple products for micros. I've got some of the good old feature, and some secret some of Matt's secret juice that I got quite some time ago. And
It's just salicylic acid and micronutrients. It's nothing special.
Okay, well it's secret. That's all I gotta know. Anyways, as far as NPK, all I have on hand that I could potentially apply to my lawn is, again, some D10 plus. I know that's not a whole lot of K, really. It's almost nothing, I think. And
yeah, that's not a fertilizer.
Someone
please do not use that as a
right.
fertilizer. You'll kill all your grass.
And I do have some 111 that I have just because I want to have it on hand just in case of anything. I do help my stepdad. He's got a nice Bermuda lawn. He's got hybrid, so I'm trying to convince him not to. Actually, as a matter of fact, let's just way off for a short story. He went out and applied a product it's fertilizer mixed with seed into his hybrid Bermuda, and I was like, "Man, what are you doing, dude?" And he doesn't get it, but he just sees the label, he sees the product, and he just kind of like, "Hey, it's got to work, right?" I'm over here trying to tell him, "Look at what I got." I trust me when I say, you don't need that, and he goes off. But anyways. For example, that 111 is something for him that I'd go and apply. It'd help him out and make his lawn look nice. And as far as that's it. It's just nothing else that I have on hand has any K. Again, just that 111, and that's it. And then just some of the some of that D10 plus, but again, that's almost nothing. Everything else is just fairly N and P.
I have another little question for you, Aldo.
Yeah.
Now that you have your nice Cal trimmer, are you planning on collecting clippings?
Not at all. I haven't in.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, not at all, really. Just because, well, one, just having to stop and take off the bag. Again, this is when I was rotary mowing. Take off the bag and having to dump it and move that trash can around, or having to walk to the trash can and dump it. I don't know. One was a lazy factor, and two, I understand that that's some nutrients going back into the soil and organic matter that can help produce. As far as collecting, it's only when I'm either scalping or I'm mowing a lot, or I've got a bunch of leaves on the lawn, then I'll bag mow. And once in a while, it's not going to hurt it, but 95% of the time, I am clippings go back into the lawn.
Okay, the only reason why I ask that is because if you're one of those people that picks up every single grass clipping, then I would then become extremely concerned about both your phosphorus and your potassium levels, because when collecting clippings, unless you put back everything the grass uses, you basically have your lawn on what I call the supermodel diet when you collect clippings.
One of those CS girl diets?
No, worse.
No? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Worse. I'm talking about the girls in the high heels, and they're about 6 foot tall, and they're about 100 pounds, and nothing they've eaten, if they do eat anything, has ever stayed in their system more than 4 hours.
Like some cucumber, and that's it.
Yeah, or celery.
Right, water.
So if you don't have your lawn on a supermodel diet, then your lawn care will actually be pretty easy, and you could even explore, doing Matt's type of program where you just mainly apply nitrogen and work on liberating your phosphorus. That could be a real inexpensive or less expensive and less complicated way of doing it. But if you insist on doing the supermodel thing, then sorry, a lot of P and K is going to be in your future.
I'm in the mindset of like doing everything I possibly can when it's fit to do so. as in right now, addressing pH, fixing my P levels. I'm not sure what I can do for sodium. I'm not sure if there's anything about that, but that's also something I could potentially address if there's any way I could do that.
Actually,
Again, you guys are the
Aldo,
pros.
when you solubilize calcium, that soluble calcium then kicks out your magnesium and your sodium from the cation exchange sites on the soil. So in other words, that program with the citric acid and the sulfur is literally going to act as a flush for the excessive magnesium and the excessive sodium. Because right now your problem is that all of your calcium exists in the form of calcium carbonate and calcium bicarbonate, which is not soluble. All it does is just keep your soil pH high.
Right.
So Aldo, I just threw up a link in the Discord chat for you to take a look at. There's a product. This is by a company called Nutriculture, and very widely unknown brand. I mean, they Site One carries some of their stuff, but they've got a pretty wide product line, and it's not something you're going to find online or anything. I bet if you wrote them an email, they might have a distributor somewhere close by, and if not, they might even send you a bag straight from Chicago at their home office. But their specialty is soluble nutrients that are very well put together fertilizers, right?
Chelated micronutrients, nice.
Chelated, yeah. So, and that's the nice thing too, is that, if you have watched the micronutrients or a scan video, you'll understand the difference between certain chelates, right? I don't know who made that video, but some dude.
I just want to
another white guy. I don't know
that if you're looking at a fertilizer bag that contains phosphorus and there's no chelated micronutrient in it, you're in a losing battle. I mean, that is not. It just ain't gonna work unless you have something in. I'm not going to get into fertilizer formulation because that's something I spent a lot of time learning, and I kind of keep that near and dear to my chest. But as a general rule of thumb, if it has phosphorus and it contains a non-chelated micronutrient, it is hot garbage. This, on the other hand, is a 10, 20, 30 soluble with phosphorus and a host of micronutrients. And as you can see, they're all chelated. And there's a reason for that. And as Ryan said, these people know how to put their stuff together. And there's no doubt about it. These people know exactly what the hell they're doing.
EDTA, that's what I'm talking about.
And so the nice thing about this stuff is not only are you going to get some of the long-term benefits of, continuing to try and soil load some P and K in there, right? And spoon feed it in there. But this stuff is going to pop big time. So it's got a tickle of potassium nitrate in there. You've got the EDTA iron. I mean, Matt, you go ahead and we're not pull the curtain back, but on a 1 to 10 factor of, wow, I just put down that 10, 20, 30. What would you give this on a 1 to 10 scale the day after?
Oh, this is a 10. I mean, the way this is put together, everything about this is they know exactly what they're doing. There's no question about it. There's nothing about this that I look at and I say that doesn't make sense, or why the hell would they do that? I mean, this is great, and every bit of it makes perfect sense. This is a legit product.
What did Billy Bob say in Varsity Blues? A 10. I can't say the last part because I'll get in trouble, but I'll say it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. But if you can get your hands on a Nutriculture product, for example, I've had nothing but good experiences with Nutriculture products. In fact, like my favorites were, Ryan, are you familiar with the Bent Special and the Bermuda Special?
I can't remember the I think it's 25.5.10 on the Bermuda Special, but the Bent Special is 28.8.18, and it is a fantastic product. It's called Bent Special because they market it to golf courses, but it is highly useful in any cool season turf that you would like to grow. A fantastic product to throw down at rates ranging from an eighth to a quarter pound of N. No problem.
Yeah.
Insufficient carrier volume. That's the other thing.
Right. Because the reason why I mention it is because I remember the Bent Special as being the product that I could spray out with some extra chelated iron, and that is literally going to make the grass start to green up as I'm rolling up the hoses or packing away the spray equipment. It's literally going to start the greening process that quick, and the reason why it did that is because a lot of the nitrogen in that product existed as potassium nitrate and ammonium nitrate, for example. So this was just a no nonsense, no gimmick, no scam type of product. It just worked.
And so, I
and
mean,
again, look at how well this is put together right here. Can you go down a little bit further? All right, ammonium phosphate, potassium nitrate, magnesium.
That was
sulfate,
my
low
question right
urea.
there, derived from. I just wanted to ask real quick. Me as you know, your homeowner, this is my hobby. I considering where my P is, and I'm trying to address that. I'm looking at that middle number, and I know that the 20 is less than the 30 that's in the K. I know this can't be my sole fertilizer or the way that I'm going to feed my turf. That's correct. Am I wrong? Or why would this? For example, I think I mentioned earlier I ordered a 10-50-10 or something that could match like a monoammonium phosphate or a diammonium phosphate. That's something that I've also been recommended by Green Dog was find yourself a good MAP or DAP. And why would that differ from that as opposed to this?
So this is not going to be a standalone fertilizer. Yeah, this isn't going to be a standalone fertilizer product, but this is going to be like a spoon feed approach, right? Like, and it's really about how you want to adjust your intervals, right? Because I don't think, especially in your climate, you're going to run into any issues of over applying, right? Like if you're going out every 2 weeks and you want to stretch it out to a month or vice versa, I don't think there's any problems there, but you're going to definitely have granular as a part of your program too. And really the whole point of a product like this is to use, okay, so we're on Bent Special now, but on the 10-20-30 is to use that mainly for the P and K. You get the nice pop from the N, and then really it's the end product of your choice, right? So if you wanted to mimic something similar to this, but a little bit different and flipping the ratio on P to K, use an MKP or DKP, right? And if you're melting in MKP, you can sit there and play with your N all day long until you're blue in the face, whatever you want to use. If you want to melt in AMS, if you want to melt in urea, if you want to use potassium nitrate, if you want to use, calcium nitrate. I mean, any of those, you pick your poison. And like Matt said, you pick
put calcium nitrate.
Don't use calcium. No, don't count calcium nitrate.
Yeah, no.
I'm talking in general terms. General terms.
The formulator in me, my radar went off right there. Did you hear that? Boo, boo, boo.
Sounded like you were tapping it on the mic there, big dog. I liked it. I like what I heard there.
Oh my God, my shocked my face.
All right, so this is Bent Special, Ray. Oh wait. We're back to. Oh, look at this guy. He's alt-T'ing like a champion over there, just switching those tabs.
This is
right?
Unbelievable. I am.
He has all the keyboard commands on that clicky keyboard.
Something
clicky
like that.
keyboard guy.
I'm about to.
Like I said, MVP.
Seriously.
I'm driving this campaign for MVP lawn care of the year, lawn care MVP of the year. That's J Pink 100%. Fight me if you disagree.
I'm sorry. I got to interject right here. The flawlessness of this stream is mind blowing, and I can't even wrap my brain around it. I mean, even when people have like 3-second quips, he's onto them and then off of them. It's just, I mean, a round of applause for J Pink there, because this is so
killing
next
it.
level. This is so
My
next
guy.
level. It's unbelievable.
Papazote.
And
you
know what? The only thing preventing him from being like the ultimate team mom, like he would totally pass out jukeboxes and snacks after the game, like, but. We're all just like too far away.
I've got extras. You can have another one.
That's right.
You can have another one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you eat 2 bananas a day, you'll poop better. I mean, just that's I think that's science, right? That we can talk about that science, right? That's okay. That's not going to get us demonetized. But so like over here on the Bent Special, the 28, let's see, look at him. He's flying
I
around.
tried.
He's flying
I
around.
tried.
Hair's on fire right now. He's like a middle linebacker. He's like Ray Lewis on the field right now. Okay, so the Bent Special, again, a lot of the same derive froms here. And again, you could use this, Aldo. Like, there's nothing saying that you can't use this stuff. So again, and I'll say this too, of that shat be named lawn supply company that you were talking about earlier.
What's that? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I've heard of it. It's an internet rumor.
Whatever,
We should
go
all
on.
check. We should all check Snopes later on. But in any regard, I think they're trying to take this type of setup. I don't know for a fact, and I might be speaking out of turn, but you know what? I don't care. I've already said words that would get me thrown off this show anyway, but they're not going to throw me off. So, I think that this is kind of the same vein as picking out some of the best ones of these that fit into a home run situation and or a ease of use or a great formulation. And there's no reason that you can't melt these in and have the same and or better results than what you would get mixed up in a liquid and sent to you, right? And you're not paying for water anymore. So, you know, some of the best turf in the world, people get freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, solubles," or "Oh my God, you're melting, urea or ammonium sulfate in the tank." Like, dude, some of the best turf in the world is grown with some of the simplest stuff out there, right? And everything in this product, there's nothing fancy or designer or anything. This is just really good, high quality raw materials that are put together very carefully and meticulously so that they work. And I have no doubt that that is what will take place with the stuff from Lawn Supply Company. It'll be the same stuff in this vein, but packaged in a way and sent to you in a way that Nutriculture can't. Like, they're just not set up to do that. So I'm interested to see it. I'm excited to see it. And I think what we'll see is probably the cream rise to the proverbial top here in terms of lawn care stuff that's available to homeowners and even pros. I mean, there's stuff out there that I think pros would take a look at if they package it in big enough bags.
Or
So
even
here's one last question for you guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Yeah, even in a smaller package, given the nature of that product now, Ryan, I like the idea of, say, a 10-pound or so package, because then I cut that bag, I totally use that bag, and there's nothing that's going to spoil on me or take on water or clump up. I cut the bag, put it in my sprayer, and I'm done.
And I think that's a good point because, like, your spraying setup is pretty unique. I love it, but it's pretty unique for what a lot of folks are using, right? So you get into those 10-pound bags and stuff like that. You get on a permagreen, you get on a steel green, you get on a Z spray, something like that. And those smaller package size absolutely makes sense, both from a portability standpoint, like, and taking them in the truck with you and dropping those in the tank as you go ahead and refill throughout the day. But I think it makes it a little bit more palatable to, mix up one tank, and then instead of trying to like measure out a partial 50-pounder out there in the field, like that's hot garbage. That ain't gonna work, right? So if I can say, hey, it's two 10-pound bags, I drop these in, boom, we're good. And
the rate flexibility too. And I'll say this from running a permagreen, for the majority of my career, when I want just the smallest amount of fertilizer in the tank, right? And when you're talking about spraying at 12 gallons an acre kind of deal there, you can't go too hot, right? I mean, that's when you got your container of whatever liquid fertilizer it is, and you're literally just splashing it in there. That way, if you're only going to throw in 5 pounds an acre, 7 pounds an acre to run alongside a fungicide, for instance, right? And it's 85 degrees outside. You don't need to be bombing it anyway, but you're making a visit to the lawn, and so you have to justify that expense to the customer. So you need some sort of visual response of you being there, even if you are only applying a fungicide, right? And so it's an easy thing that you can throw in 5 pounds an acre and still get a elicited response from the turf while you're there for a fungicide application, kind of sort of deal.
Yeah, and I think in Aldo's case, it's really like, tell us is like, how often do you want to get out there and apply? Like, what's your ideal scenario? Is it every 2 weeks? Is it every week? Because really, you can chop this onion up as fine as you want it, and take.
I know a thing or
at
two about chopping
GNC.
onions, Poppy. So yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what that helps? It ain't the lawn, buddy. You know that.
One question I guess I can apply quite often. Right now, I'm in a period where I pretty much go out there every day and just walk around and just look and say, oh, well, the spots it still needs something. It needs some more water, or that place. It's funny because right now, my greenest spots on the lawn are my hot spots in the summer. Of course, it's hot. It's warmer temperatures that are right there. So naturally, there's more foliage coming out of there. Now, what I'm trying to do is not try to push those parts, at least not until I can kind of get some even green going on there. But actually, what I wanted to ask was, if you go, JPink, if you go back to my soil test, it gives me the recommended NPK for the year. Now I know that P is going to be much higher, or higher if anything. But if this was your guys's one of your guys' properties, what would your recommended NPK for the year be?
Okay.
Repeat your question there. I spaced out. Actually, I was replying to somebody in the chat.
If Matt, if this was your lawn, if you took care of this property, what would your NPK for the year be, as opposed to seeing those numbers shown below?
Well, I would literally, I just plug this into the growth probability model to get my N rate, right? And then I would leave that there. But I told you I'm going to go about this the cheapest way I possibly can. So I'm going to spray. If this was my yard, I would spray some foliar micros, and I would only apply ammonium sulfate and just worry about mowing it, getting down wetting agents probably once a month, something like that. And this is where I would actually, if this is my yard, I would have a really good time playing with various wetting agents here, right? Because I know it's going to benefit, and so it'd be real easy in this type of scenario to put claims to the test, right? And do that kind of thing. But again, budget conscious, all that things. Literally, I'm just running ammonium sulfate for the year. I'm going to mow it, I'm going to water it, and then trick it out with a little foliar micros and some and wetting agents. And of
what does that come back with on
pH modification?
Yeah.
What did that come back at on GP there, Matt? For total N?
To be honest, I have not thrown it in, but I'm gonna say it's it's gonna be.
I plugged it into that the subvert one that you got, Matt.
Yep.
I want to say the 3 months, my hottest months are like at 95% like growth probability.
Oh, I believe that 100%. Do you remember the NPK though, or at least the N?
Oh, I can pull it up here. Hold on a second.
Here, I'm gonna throw it in. I'm gonna set it because it is Bermuda. I'm gonna set it at actually, but it's gonna be real mode. So I'm gonna keep this at 0.75 pounds of N, and then let me flip this to Fahrenheit because Celsius only exists in Canada.
Hey, if he was 6 miles south, man, it'd be Celsius. So whatever.
Where am I? Okay, here we go. 58.9, 64.5, 70.1, 70.6, 86, 92, 92, 86, 74, 62, 54. 4.5 pounds in.
So
yeah, that's like what I have. Nice.
So that's the thing.
4.5 pounds of nitrogen. Yeah,
I think on that, the one thing I would say about the GP model in these arid climates is that it undercooks because of irrigation, right? It doesn't account for irrigation. So that is one thing where I'd be probably leaning more closely to, I wouldn't say, the 6 is here from the spectrum recommendations. On common, I don't know that you'd need to go that high, but I'd say in that 4 to 5 pound range is probably fair. In being very deliberate with it, in those high growth probability months for sure. Like pouring the coal to it for sure.
Yeah. This is your actual case for really controlling your nitrogen, rate, and 0.5 pound per month. That would be, to me, half a pound of nitrogen per month would be really pushing it on something that I know is going to be real cut.
And I'll throw this in here that if we drop your max in per month at a half pound, then you're going to be at 3 pounds in for the year.
Yeah, just FYI, all I put so far after I scalped was 1/3 of a pound of that ammonium phosphate, and then I've done nothing else to it since then.
Mm-hmm.
It's primed.
So, yeah, you're ready. It's all good, and
that was a scalp day.
That was your scalp day where you got it down lower. You dropped down the reel mower a little bit down to the last setting, for example.
Plenty of sand. Yeah, it definitely was. And then there was some spots where I know where I've got some deep ends. I kind of just went in there with the string trimmer and went ham. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean, and I'm not going to say what I call it because this is YouTube.
Right.
Manners.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to be good too.
I know it's hard for me, but we're doing our best right now. So yeah, I think the irrigation is a little bit of a game changer. Not collecting clippings is a game changer there. So the 3.2 on common, I mean, again, I'm going to let these guys speak. They're much more well versed, especially in common Bermuda grasses. But to me, you really it just from a theoretical standpoint is you push as hard as you can. And again, there's a limit to that, right? And I think Matt's probably in the wheelhouse of half a pound, maybe a skosh more, but in those 95% plus growth potential months, and really try to push those roots as hard as you can. And that's where, again, you want everything working in concert, right? So you want to be pushing your wetting agents hard at that time, right? So that everything is well hydrated in the soil. If you're going to do any other additional cultural practices besides the scallop, I don't know. I mean, is there anything else that you would do in summertime to
maybe some more
other than mowing?
No, really, it's just mowing, and then I'll probably do another round of sand leveling for sure. I think it calls for sourcing my sand's a whole different subject, but yeah, if anything, just another hard scalp, sand, and then just try to push it again, but not try to overdo it. Just because last year I went down to the dirt, and then I hit it with probably like a pound and a quarter of N, and that thing came back with a vengeance. And that was the start of you're gonna be mowing a lot, dude. It doesn't matter that it's fully grown back; it's still gonna grow. So, yeah.
Which PGR are you gonna use? Which PGR are you gonna use?
I have something. It's called Edgeless. It's pretty much Legacy in a tiny bottle. It's Fluprimidol and Trinexapac-ethyl.
Perfect. Yeah, so your rebound won't be quite as hard.
If you get a wild hair up your ass to run. Oh damn it, Ray! What did I spray on the yard last year?
Paclo? Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
You sprayed Paclo on Bermuda?
On common, yeah.
Matt did.
What?
Oh yeah. And
Matt
trust me,
did
I
it.
went into it fully aware that it, in all likelihood, is an effective tool at controlling common. So I was running low rates of it, and it legit grazed the turf. But if you really narrow down on that rate just right, you can keep it somewhat okay. You can keep it presentable. There's no doubt about it. And you can go in easy, especially running it side by side with Trim Pack. You can easily go 2 weeks without mowing. I mean, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, that's harsh.
It's not a good thing. I do not recommend that to anybody.
Yeah. Well,
what was the rate you were running again?
I'd have to look, but it was somewhere around 6 ounces an acre, something like that. And I think I was running 10 to 13 ounces an acre of Trim Pack. And when I
Oh,
say
man,
clipping volume after a week was, I mean, I could not fill up a quarter of the bucket in the John Deere.
dusted the bottom of it, right? Yeah. So on cool season, to give you an idea, like if we're trying to take out POA with that stuff, or really trying to suppress it, we'll go 24 ounces to the acre and mix it with
God.
16 to 20, like 16 ounces to the acre on Trinexin Pack Ethyl. Yeah, and that's a normal spray on like a bent grass fairway or something like that to control and beat the crap out of POA. So it's
That'll smoke the
totally
POA,
different.
won't it? It'll smoke the
24
POA,
ounces. 24 ounces, yeah. So you get some really good regulation, and you got to be careful too on cool season because times of frost, like it'll bronze the crap out of something. But yeah, it's totally different. I mean, on Bermuda, I think the edges will be good because your suppression curve is going to be, it's not going to get as high as what you would get out of a higher rate of Primo or Trinexin Pack, but it's going to be a lot softer curve, right? So you're not going to have that big increase in suppression and then that big fall off and then the rebound that comes after. It's a much more kind of lower growth curve, so or excuse me, growth suppression curve. So it's much more forgiving in that sense, and I think you'll like it. So a good thing to use, good thing to have on the shelf. Good call, Ray.
And I'll tell you,
yeah, that was him.
That's the big benefit of a new too, right? Is going to be that that rebound curve, and I'm going to play with that more this year to watch how that interacts with Common Bermuda because I don't have the experience with it. So
go ahead, Ray.
Actually, I can tell you guys that a new on warm season grass, it basically, what I see out of it is that it smooths out how, for example, Trinexapac takes a while to start working, but then once it starts working, you get out of regulation so quick. So what I typically do, for example, when I need to regulate somebody's zoysia grass really hard, Matt, you're familiar with my three-way mix of a new Trinexapac and Flurprimidol, right?
yeah,
You know,
that's
one,
called
two,
balls
three.
to the wall.
No,
Be in a
you know what
month.
that's called? No, that's called no more than half an inch of growth in 2 weeks. On
Oh, no
zoysia, that's
question.
normally kept at a half an inch height of cut. And on Bermuda, that too translates out very well. But in speaking to Flurprimidol, there's a big difference in how it affects Bermuda grass versus paclobutrazol. I find that the Flurprimidol is not nearly as suppressive on the Bermuda, and your duration of growth regulation is such that I can be assured that the Bermuda will come out of it within a month, whereas if somebody did do a very high rate of paclobutrazol on their Bermuda, I literally do not expect that turf to grow for up to 60 days. I don't expect it. I mean, Paclo is that serious on Bermuda.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and Common does not like it, even at 6 ounces an acre. Now, and mind you, I'm doing real stupid stuff. Okay, so do not repeat this. Anybody who's watching or listening right now, do not do what I was doing. I went in this fully prepared to kill the entirety of the lawn. But 6 ounces applied, ultra low volume out of the permagreen with Trend Pack in the tank at ultra low volume. And
This man is fearless.
It graded out, but it actually the color came back, and this is what's hilarious is that even it was not responding real well to iron, and I knew I was a hair bit low in zinc, and it turned out the zinc is actually what brought it back to life. So if you ever get into one of those situations where you do overregulate and you're I would say a hair deficient in zinc, zinc is one of those that zinc and manganese, I'd say may be able to bail you out in that type of situation. Maybe, at least it did in my case.
Yeah.
Wonder where I can get some foliar
zinc,
available zinc.
well, zinc is a factor for growth and cell division, so that can kind of help you out. However, the whole point is to really mind your rate of PGR and also pay attention to how each PGR affects the type of grass that you're working with, because apparently with PGRs, their effect is not uniform across the board across all grass species. That's a case of, just because you can do it on Bermuda, for example, doesn't mean that you do it on other grasses. Because, for example, that a new PGR that I was talking about is an entirely different creature when you take that into a cool season grass. Am I right, Ryan?
Is, and it's honestly, it's funny you guys brought this up, is that on a new, is I had a deep conversation with several cool season turf managers from around the country this morning, sports turf guys for the most part, and just talking about a new and some kind of hit and miss responses and feedback that we got in terms of what folks have seen and the predictability of it, right? So like the growth curves that they show, and kind of the preeminent researcher on this is one of Matt and I's favorite, and possibly Ray too, but Bill Kreuzer at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln has really pioneered this research. I think I heard Matt just get, yeah, he did. Yeah, he got it. Yeah. So, yeah. Thud. And yeah, if you look at the growth suppression curves on a new, it really is an interesting product to be able to use and have at our disposal, because the length of suppression is a little bit longer. The modality, right, of the curve is a little bit less severe in terms of how steep it is and how much you suppress at the peak of it, right? And the rebound is also less, right? So it's a little bit more forgiving. So like in those situations, like say a home lawn or say a sports field where you've got a 10-day homestand, and then Billy Joel comes in to play a concert at your baseball stadium or something like that, it's a little bit more forgiving than, hey, we just took up the floor from Billy Joel and the T-Nex wore off, and wham, here comes a whole bunch of growth. And oh, by the way, it was still covered for 2 days when that happened, and now you got a bunch of pythium. So it's different strokes in that realm than what you would see on a homeowner's lawn. But I think it's one of those things where you look at the cost relative to T-Nex is pretty inexpensive, right? It's tried and true. If you get yourself on a rate that you feel like you get good control, and you stick with that 350 growing degree day model that Bill Kreuzer, I don't want to say he invented it, but discovered it, it's pretty bulletproof, right? Like it's hard to screw it up. And so I have no qualms about telling people, hey, follow that 350 GDD. And if you don't know what that is, jump in the lawn Discord. We'll help you figure it out. That's a good resource to start. But just look up Bill Kreuzer and PGRs. That's another good place to start, just on Google. And you'll find that really it's just about how quickly that grass metabolizes that active ingredient and that growth suppression, and how quickly it falls off. And in summertime, like, here in the Midwest for us, and Aldo, it's going to be the same thing out there for you too. And Trinax Impact, that part of it is, it's a very short-lived product, especially in high heat, right? So the growing degree days, your growing degree days base 32
gonna
are going to
burn
be
through
through the
that real
friggin'
quick.
roof. Through the
Yeah.
roof. I mean, here, if we're 90 and 70 here, which isn't uncommon during the summertime, it's a 7-8 day window for us. So you got to figure out, this is a good done too, where if you're really going to get down the wormhole, is using the Greenkeeper app to let it track all your stuff
Right.
for you. So rather than put the guesswork in trying to do all the math and everything like that, Greenkeeper app, even the free version, will track GDD for you and give you pretty good insights on as to where you're at with that. So I think it'll be cool to watch common in your climate under PGRs. I'm kind of curious now too. I might dig into some of the Phoenix and Palm Springs guys, and it's not quite the same, but it's close, just to see how they get down with that.
It's a very similar area when it comes to like weather and climate just in general. Phoenix and Palm Springs pretty much identical. We're probably getting much less rain compared to those two areas, but other than that, temperatures are almost the same. So when people ask, like, "Oh, what are your temperatures? What's your weather like?" and I'm like, "You ever been to Phoenix?" Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
Have any of it? Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, sir. Have any of y'all ever sprayed Velocity Bisprac sodium?
Yeah. What do you want to know about it?
No,
Damn well I haven't.
Some old school stuff there.
They don't make it anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. And in fact, actually, you know what? Ignore me. I don't know where I was going with that. I was having a chat with someone in the chat about Poetriv.
So,
I got
no, so it was marketed as that. And Poetry was never on the label for it. It was tested for it. But here's the thing with herbicides in cool season trying to take PO out, right? We don't have the luxury of sulfonyl ureas that we can wipe out cool season out of warm season like you guys down there south of Canada, right? That just doesn't work here. So
that's called the United States.
The United States. The un-United States. Just remember, we won the war, man. All right. So the thing with Velocity was that you're trying to take Poa annu out of Poa pratensis, right? Well, asking to take it out of the same genus can get a little dicey, right? So that's kind of one of the downfalls that it had. It was pretty good in taking both Poetriv and Poa annu out of bent, pretty good, but not great. Like, so it was one of those things that came on the market maybe 15 years ago, came out not long before Exonerate came out, and Exonerate, I believe, is still around.
Exonerate is, yeah. I don't know how many people use it, but it's around.
And so the new one now is Poacure, and that's one that's literally only labeled. It's not even labeled in every state yet. It's only labeled for golf. It will likely never be labeled for residential, maybe sports turf, but it is it's probably the greatest hope in terms of if you're trying to eliminate anal bluegrass or Poetriv from a stand.
What
and
kind
even
of
it does work.
Not Triv.
Annual.
What was the first
I
thing
heard the same thing, Matt. I was like,
What'd you say?
I was just wondering.
Anal? No, I didn't say. No. You
Okay,
guys
that's
are.
what I heard, Bobby.
I was dreaming.
We're not playing. We're in the mud, dude.
Annual.
Annual. No, not the Freudian slip.
So I never could get the timing right on Bisprac sodium to control Poetriv. It was such a weird thing that you needed temperatures over a certain temperature, and you had to make 3 applications 3 weeks apart, right? Well, by the time I got to that 9th week in the temperature range, it was normally dormant and gone before it comes back in the winter. Really, you typically don't see Poetriv till the next spring down here in where I live in the United States of America. But so it was difficult because you could get in 2 applications, but you never could get in that 3rd application timing wise, just because it would go dormant. It would be gone by then.
Just to let you know too, if you try to take out anal bluegrass, just make sure you pull it out really slowly.
I'll take your word for it, Ryan.
I don't know. I read that on the label. You guys brought it up. I didn't even think I said it, but I had to address it. So
Poppy, you said it, man.
Timmy
I'm just
Bluegrass
saying.
heard it too. He commented in the chat. He said he heard it.
Yeah, we'll find the time code.
yep. Make me a meme.
Clip it. Somebody clip it.
Jason Trailer said he heard it too. Look at that.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, but that's
Well-
just like the products are just basically coming and going. And oh, by the way, Exonerate, that's another product banned in Hawaii. Because
Well, a lot of these
apparently,
too, they're very persistent, right? Even PoaCure has pre-emergent properties, right? And which means it's persistent. And so I'm sure Hawaii Department of Ag is going to say, not here, can't do it.
actually, it's not even the Department of Ag that I gotta think about. It's actually the Hawaii Department of Health.
Ah,
Because you see, the Hawaii Department of Health can overrule the Department of Agriculture if there is potential for a product to be a ground or surface water pollutant. Because did you guys know that for the longest time, I couldn't even get sulfentrazone in Hawaii? And what it took was somebody in the Department of Health that objected to it had to retire. And then the registration process went through, and I could get a hold of dismiss. But for, I think, about 5 years after sulfentrazone was labeled for turf in the United States, I just couldn't get my hands on it. So, yeah.
tough situation, and I think that's the thing, is that there's a lot of hope that comes out with these products. And so far, I mean, PoaCure had such a long registration process here in the States because they didn't have the data that the EPA required. It was getting registered in other countries, and obviously it came from South Korea, and not near the amount of hurdles to clear over in Asia for it to get labeled. But when it came here, so they had to do all that testing basically as they went, right, and finding sites to do it and everything like that. So a lot of what they've learned here is kind of pigeonholed them, to what I understand, that it will be a Gulf-only product for a long time, if not forever. Just because of they're a relatively small company, and it's not a Syngenta or a Bayer or something like that taking it to market. And from the sounds of it, again, just what I understand is that they would not sell out to those folks.
Look at the price
they would
on
keep
that.
it in-house.
Pretty sure that didn't say California either. Not that I need it, but just that's what I look at. First thing I look at, of course, is California. Can I use it here in my state?
I'll tell you how you get rid of POA. Look at the Weather Channel, right? That'll take care of your POA problems out there.
Yeah. If it's here, it lingers very little, and then it's gone.
Yeah, I think POA will only live about 2 or 3 months in Imperial Valley, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
At best. Otherwise, it's
during
just
those months I told you about, those 3 months. After that, it's gone. If anything's alive right now, it's dying, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it checks out here usually around June. So if it's checking out here in June, then it's got to be out of your way by March, April,
now,
May, June, July, August.
Because I know
September.
2019, I was super excited to see my first live in-person POA Annua. 2019. Yeah, I was excited to see my first actual POA plant.
Where did you see it?
Oh, at the golf course I maintain.
Was it a resistant variety of POA? Because that is when the fun begins.
No, not resistant. And the reason why the POA even emerged is because we had a weird month, February 2019, where daytime temperatures literally did not go above 70 degrees for that entire month.
That is prime
Wow.
polo weather right there.
Yeah.
And
especially
normally that does not happen in Hawaii, where we get more than a day or two of sub 80 degree or sub 75 degree weather. It just doesn't happen. So that was a weird month, and I was just all giddy with excitement. Ooh, POA. But
I saw
Ryan,
it. What's up?
and you see that that practice tee behind me in my background?
Hmm.
That's where the POA came out. And you know where the POA actually came out?
Of the
Where
ground?
no, where the golf students had refilled their divots with some sand, because the rest of that teaching tee got spectacle in Halloween and again at Thanksgiving.
I
So
wouldn't doubt that came off a tourist shoe that came in from somewhere on the mainland, right, the continental United States, and probably brought POA in with them. I'm not kidding you.
I wouldn't think that it would be necessarily a tourist. I'm more like I'm looking at the golf instructor that uses that teaching tee, and I'm saying, hey man, what did you bring in on your shoes, dude? I mean, look at
So
what you brought. Because
there's a
he
club
golfs in the
here.
continental U.S. too. So
Well, and that's
so
no, it's a
so
thing
I
for
so
sure. That
so I gave him a little bit of stuff about that. I said, hey man, look at what came in on your shoe, because technically Poa annua does not exist in Honolulu. Okay, it doesn't.
it's not. Yeah, it's not a native, an indigenous plant, right?
Or endemic even. It's not even endemic here.
Mm.
So and I know that other than where the sand divots were filled up with, the divots in the teaching tee were filled up with sand, absolutely no POA on that tee, because I basically keep that area coated and pre-emergent 12 months out of the year.
So the moral of the story here is, Aldo, is that if anybody from coastal California comes over to your house, you need to have them dip their shoes in Clorox, right, before they can actually walk anywhere near the lawn, right?
I'd be worse.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Customary.
I'd go over their shoes with either a torch or a steam cleaner. Sorry.
They do the
Charlie,
No,
hold
seriously.
your feet up. I'm going to torch them.
I don't care that you have Yeezys on. Put
Where
them
have
up.
you been traveling? Where the hell have you been? Sit your ass over here. We're torching your feet.
Yeah,
Could
we're
you
not even,
imagine
we're gonna skip.
Ray walking at you wearing a propane tank on his back with a blowtorch in his hand?
You're just
telling
like-
going to take care of the POA on your feet. Man, I would be running.
Yeah, come here, boy.
Golly, I would be trucking it out of there.
Well, Aldo, I just want to say that it's, I think it's been cool to follow and watch, this thing from afar. The one thing I've always admired is that, for people that don't know you or from the Discord and everything like that, is the dude's a really talented musician, like super talented. And I think there's a lot
Aldo.
of
Shut up.
Yeah. Listen, this isn't funny. That's total inside baseball. You would not know that we were talking about. But in any event, I think there is a lot of that dormant. I don't want to say BA. I can't say the words, but there's a lot of that where you just have to like work at it, and then finally like there's a time where the lights come on and it's like you just got to do it, right? Like you got to perform. And I think that's kind of the thing that us nerds that are on here enjoy, right? Is that whole like learning, and then applying it and then watching it all come to fruition. Like So I love the corollary that's there between, you know, what you
Very
do with music
satisfying.
and it is. And but there's like that time, right? There's that time that Matt knows
Absolutely.
that his clients had to have the lawn looking good, or Ray knows that, you know, the bowling green that he has the big, you know, tournament or event or whatever it is, or the golf course has this tournament, you know, whatever it is, you know, a game, you know, for me, whatever. But like, it's that whole process of like, it's got to get a little bit better. I got to practice more. I got to learn this. I got to do this and incorporate more and more and more to be a better player, or to be a better turf manager. And so I appreciate you for that. I really do. And bringing that kind of mindset to what we do, because it's appreciated very much so. So I appreciate that about you. And I'm glad that you came on with us tonight.
Thanks.
Yeah, Aldo. This time, 13 years ago, I can remember sitting in the office at the golf course, reading the old school lawn forum, where this is where I legit saw Ray for the first time, right? And it was called Lawn Sight, and I would be reading what Ray is doing, and just it would put me into this tailspin of the different things. I was like, oh, I'm like, man, okay, I'm not gonna buy that, and I'm gonna buy that, but I'm only gonna get a small thing of that so I can put it over here, because I was so freaked out that I did not want to make a mistake. How many times I came close to making horrific mistakes by just not acting versus just going ahead and getting done at least what I know the foundation needs to be, right? And so when we do get the opportunity to talk to you and watch people learn and watch people grow, it's coming at it from the standpoint that, listen, the reality situation is that what it all comes down to is at least get the foundation right, and then everything you do outside of that, chances are, is going to be a building block or a stepping stone in the right direction. But what's most important is that you took that first step to getting the foundation correct, getting the basics where they needed to be, so that way you have the flexibility to go out and try new things. And let that be what keeps you awake at night, is what you're going to try new, and let it be understood, and what gives you peace and solace and able to sleep at night knowing that you at least have the foundation figured out.
Well said.
Yes,
Appreciate that, sir. It means a lot.
yeah, that's I think I really applaud you for getting down the basics and the fundamentals and really embracing them versus chasing after the magic miracle, products, additives, and whatever. It's like, no, let's get the basics right first, and then, once you get the basics right, then everything else gets relatively simple. Because I know in my life, having the basics right makes or breaks me, because pH is no good. I'm going to have a long year if my P and K is really off. I'm not going to have a good time either. So by getting the basics, down and addressed, that just makes your lawn care so simple by comparison. Makes your life easy. So you can go to sleep at night. You can think about other more important things. So,
Something I would say, I'm sorry, something I would say lawn care has taught me is, as I've always considered myself to be quite patient. Again, what Ryan deferred to earlier was that, like, being a musician, like, to the viewers that don't know me, I've played guitar since I was in high school, and part of me can be quite cocky about it. Sometimes I won't. Now I could say I'm a little bit more, humble about it. But yeah, there were these periods of time where it's just like, you got to sit down and learn these things, and as far as the technique and fundamentals of just guitar playing, that takes years, guys, years of time to just be able to have the patience and have that discipline to just be like, dude, you're gonna learn this, just stick to it. Now with lawn care, that's visual. That's not hearing it, as opposed to guitar playing, as opposed to like, yo, all those hours and hours of this little, exercise has helped me, be able to play this part of this famous solo that you hear of. You know what I mean? But you can hear that, but you don't get that with lawn care. You actually have to, put in the time and the effort, and really just years of building, for example, building your soil and just being able to see it. That's like, yo, you could see all that time and effort that I've done, as opposed to like, when you want to compare that to like guitar playing, you just like, yo, suddenly I could do it. I just got to clean it up. And then like, yeah, there you go. Actually, JPen you put up the picture of when I actually bought my home. It was a nice layer of crispy common Bermuda that once upon a time may have been decent, but
I don't think he gave you that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I guess not. But yeah, it's when I just bought my home, I took a picture of the house from the street, and it was just it was nothing but just fried, maybe 2-inch high common Bermuda that was just gone, long gone. Maybe, I don't know when was the last time that somebody was maintaining that turf, but I take a lot of pride in that. I get a lot of compliments from the neighbors that are like, "Oh, look at this crazy guy out here, always freaking mowing his lawn. What's his problem?" Always trying to like, rub it in everybody's faces. But like, same time, I do get compliments, and it feels good, But back to that, I mean, that there's a process to this. People always ask like, "Hey, like, what? I want a lawn like that," or they could ask me, "Hey, I want to play like you, dude. How do I? What do I gotta do? What kind of guitar do I have to get?" There you go. That's the one.
Oh,
that
Lord
was
have
that was
mercy.
day one
Wow.
of
Wow.
my lawn.
Good work, sir.
Yeah, it was. Thank you very mucho. Appreciate that. But yeah, again, it's just it's
Wait,
a process.
Did you say
to this.
thank
Trust
you very
the process.
mucho?
That's what I said.
You're gonna judge him for that?
My kids interchange Japanese and English when they speak to me sometimes, and you have to. It's funny. I heard someone else do that. I'm not used to hearing that in other languages. Thank you very mucho. I'm gonna steal that.
Dude, it's Spanglish all day, every day here, man. Yeah, before and after. How those memes you see, how it was, how it's going, kind of thing. That's it right there. The money shot. Again, back to just the process. It takes time. You're not gonna get this kind of thing overnight. You're not gonna learn some Eddie Van Halen solos overnight. You're not gonna have a nice stand of turf overnight. That takes a lot of time and effort. And really, like, for example, people ask you, "Yo, what kind of fertilizer are you using?" It's not the fertilizer, man. It's the amount of time I'm out here. As a matter of fact, Ryan Knorr, a long time ago when he had, as a matter of fact, Matt was on his podcast a couple years ago, and it was the time when he had brought Connor Ward over to his house, and he had that podcast in his office. And then they asked him, like, what do you do on your lawn? What do you put out there? And Connor said, "Time. It's time that you're out here. That's every time you come out here, you see me out here. I'm working on it. That's the number one thing that you can give to your lawn is the effort and the patience and the discipline to be like, yeah, I gotta go mow. I need to mow. I need to water. I need to address whatever issue that's there." And that gets overlooked a lot of times. Some people are just like, "Hey, what is it? Can I just go buy it at Walmart? Can I just go put that down and then suddenly I'm have a lawn like you?" Like, I mean, you could try, but
the guys that ask for the tabs to eruption, like on YouTube, right? Like, man, where's the tabs for that? Like that. No, you don't understand, dude. Like that's not gonna do anything, right? Like that is the designer product of
right.
guitar YouTube is to, hey man, where's the tabs?
I saw a lesson on YouTube that taught me how to do it, and you're just like, okay, dude. Okay.
What's
I won't go
the P
down that rabbit
between
hole.
the 7 and 5? Why has it got a P between the 7 and 5?
What note is P? I didn't know that was a note. Where is that in the fretboard?
I don't see it on my damn guitar.
No, and that I just, like I said, I thought about that earlier today when I knew you were coming on, and I just thought that the music thing is such a great corollary to what we do and what we face as turf professionals every day, of just, like I said, of like having to learn, and then just compress that all and try to deliver, right? And it's, the performance is different or whatever, but I enjoy that fact, and I think that maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's my perspective on, I think, maybe why you appreciate it and enjoy it so much. So, like I said, I've enjoyed following it. I know these guys have too, and we're grateful to have you on as the first guest of Thirsty Thursdays. Now, do we want to tease? Do we want to tease anything for next week, or do we want to
You may or may. I have heard
just
you may
blow
or
it
may
out,
not have another
for sure.
musician
just
coming
blow
up.
it out? Blow it. All right. So next week we have at least one, possibly two very special guests. Okay. So our next guest next week will be Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern for Thirsty Thursday with the All Pro Turf Crew and Mr. Ryan Knorr. Ryan, every wife who's watching this with their husband right now just did the same thing. Aldo, it's okay. We get it. They heard Ryan Knorr.
Slug trails.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
sorry.
the
fanboy coming out.
No, seriously, the Ryan Knorr music
Mike,
channel.
Mute my mic.
Yeah, the views are going to go way up here in about 6 minutes. Matt's going to do most of that traffic, but it's okay. But in any regard, Ryan Knorr is going to come on here and talk. If you don't follow him on YouTube, I highly encourage that you do. He just put out a video recently here the other day about a trip that he took down to Georgia to visit a company called Real Rollers. Real Rollers sells a variety of different reel mowers for homeowners, and at their site they actually have what they call turf park. So it's Bermuda. I think there's some zoysia there, Ray. Ray's getting excited, and we're going to look
Glorious
at their
El Toro. My goodness.
Hey, you got it. Are we gonna? Is this going to be an intervention or is this going to be an episode, gentlemen? What are we going to have next week?
I just need to know why El Toro. It probably had to do with availability, right? But why El Toro?
Well,
It
and
must be
also
because
think
it's very slow growing
and then he did Xeon too, and I'm like, dude, the tried and true Z52. But
well,
it's
that's
not
what I don't
sexy.
know. What
I get it.
I don't know
Maybe
what
you
they have a
wanted the
lot of down
challenge.
there from lawn. Well, is it also too like they're trying to mimic what lawns are down there? I don't know Atlanta that well
That's
to
a
tell
good
you like
point.
what.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of emerald. You're going to see a lot of Xeon because everybody stopped growing emerald. So, yeah, that actually is makes perfect sense.
That's probably. I was going to say. Go ahead.
It makes sense, but I can also tell you that I got a sneak peek at the soil test that Ryan Knorr drew from the turf park.
He's going to spoil the whole episode now.
Lord have mercy.
No, and it was like, okay, there's a lot to explain here.
So yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
I think the big thing next week is Lee, who is president, one of the co-founders of Real Rollers, I believe has agreed to come on as well with Ryan. And we're going to talk about the soil test. And I think what he is really looking for is I just invested 6 figures really into building this thing, right? And it's a huge core component of their business. And now how do I take care of it? So I think we can help him with that. I know he's had some help from some highly unqualified unprofessionals so far. And we'd like to correct that trajectory if we can sooner rather than later. And if you do like what you see, go, oh, was that just a flash, or you throwing that up for real there, sir? Throw them up. Now, this is a tribute to our current guest, Mr. Aldo, right? He liked and was so moved by our constant recommendations and drum beats of, yeah, y'all just need a 1-1-1. Y'all just need a 1-1-1. That he made a excellent, outstanding graphic that he dropped on the Lawn Discord. Again, if you're not a part of that, you ought to go on and check it out. But in any case, stickers are available. Maybe we can put them on the Grass Factor merch store or something like that. We can hook that up, maybe, right?
TheLawnDiscord.com. You can always go there too.
Yeah,
come holler. If you guys are interested in some stickers, you can hot your boy on TheLawnDiscord.com. Hot your boy!
All right. Gentlemen, especially to our producer who has kept this on track.
Real quick, before we go, are we going to do a show after the show?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure, and I'll explain to everybody the show after the show's not for everyone. I just warn you, it's crude, it's rough, and if you're not into that sort of thing, it's probably not the show for you. But the link will be in the Grass Factor Discord for members only for 10 minutes after the show. So If you're looking for it, check Dirty Deeds. It'll be there for 10 minutes, and then it'll be gone forever. And I make no exceptions to that, because these things, what happens in the show after the show stays in the show after the show, and that's it.
And disappears very soon after. But
Yep.
Aldo,
Get us
thank
out
you
of
so
here,
much for
Ryan.
coming
You're
on.
the man.
I will. I'll roll.
Thank-
I'm gonna roll this